I've been doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations for 5 years now, almost every day. And to be honest with you, I did not do everything right from the beginning. I struggled with consistency. Sometimes I doubted myself and wondered many times if it was actually working. And I almost quit more than once. But the most important thing is that I stayed in the work. And I know how important this is because over time things started to change. Not in one big breakthrough moment, but through small realizations that completely shifted how I approached my meditations and also my life. In these 5 years, I learned 11 lessons that kept me in the game. Lessons that helped me move through doubt, through frustration, through overthinking. Lessons I wish I knew before I started. So, if you are meditating but you feel stuck, or maybe you feel inconsistent or unsure, then this video is for you. So, let me share the first one, lesson number one. And like I said, I almost quit Dr. Joe meditations because I listened too much to my mind. I started with long meditations thinking more time meant more change. But I was so wrong because after a few weeks, my mind did not feel like it anymore. And one day, my mind convinced me I had too much to do on my to do list. So then I skipped one of my meditations. And here is the problem with this, that one skipped day turned into guilt. And before I knew it, I stopped meditating. So, therefore, here's the first lesson I learned. Your mind will always look for comfort, the easy way. And it will always find reasons to talk you out of a meditation, talk you out of a new habit you try to create. And this is why shorter meditations work so well for me when I do not feel like I want to meditate. Because 5 or 10 or even maybe 50 minutes keeps you in the habit of doing it. And for me personally, it makes it easier to show up on low motivation days. And when you do this, meditation becomes a routine, a habit. And it feels less like a struggle or guilt after you did a short one because you still did your meditation that day. So then lesson 2 is this. One of the hardest phases for me was the quiet phase, where nothing seemed to change. And there was even a moment that my mind was questioning if my meditations were actually doing something. So the lesson I learned is that this phase is normal and maybe even necessary. What helped me move through it was surrounding myself with testimonials. Hearing other people's experiences reminded me that change often comes after this doubt phase. So therefore it helped me to stay in the game long enough to see my own results. Like when my health improved and my rosacea, I don't know how to say it in English, but the red spots on my cheeks, they disappeared, for example. And then we dive into lesson number 3. And this maybe sound boring, but still, I think it's a game changer. Lesson 3 also helped me a lot during this phase because I stayed in the content by listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. When my belief was low and my mind started to drift back into old patterns, I kept feeding it the right information. I listened while driving in the car, while walking my dogs, or doing the same simple things during the day. Not to force my belief, but to remind my mind why I was doing the work in the first place. And this helped me to stay aligned with the bigger picture. And it made it much easier to keep showing up for my practices, even when results were not visible at that moment. And then we have lesson number 4. Lesson number 4 is something Dr. Joe talks about all the time. Becoming aware of your unconscious thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The moment you become aware of those subconscious programs, the subconscious self-talk, a whole new world opens up. And you start noticing patterns you never saw before. For example, notice how you talk to yourself when you are playing a game. Is that voice supportive or just negative? Most people never notice this inner talk, this negative inner talk, because it runs on autopilot, automatically. And that made me ask one important question. If this inner voice influences my performance in a game, could changing that simple sentence in my head turn a match from losing into winning a game? So here's a short interview about those unconscious patterns in your head and the power of changing a small sentence in your subconscious mind.
And the crazy story I'm going to tell you is actually something that happened last week with my friends, my best friends in LA, over a game of paddle. There's 4 of us playing paddle. I play a lot, so I was in the first place, and then my friend Logan was second, my friend Oliver was third, and my friend Ash was 4th. He was by far the worst at paddle. And I sat down and I watched him play, and I was watching his shots, and I said to my friends, I was like, he's only missing the easy shots. Like the really, really hard shots, he's amazing. His service is amazing, but he's missing all the easy shots. So when Ash came and sat down next to me, I said this to him, I said, you're missing the easy shots. So what I need you to do is every single time, whether you win a point or you lose a point, say this in your head. Say, that doesn't matter, that point doesn't matter, I'm a better player than him. Just say that to yourself after every single point. I swear on my mother's life, he went out, he beat me. He's never in my life beat me. He then beat Logan. He then beat Oliver. He then did doubles. And if you ever have Ash on your team, you lose doubles. Everyone that had Ash on their team won doubles. And Ash said, it's changed in my brain. And all he was doing was reminding, like basically installing temporary self-belief in a moment when rejection can send you on a spiral. And like, I swear to you, since then, since last week, I'm doing that every single day, all the time.
I experienced the same thing myself in the past, and it really works. So please try it out for yourself. And leave a comment below about your experience. Become aware of that one sentence you repeat over and over again, unsubconsciously in your head. And try to change it. Because if this works in a simple padel game, can you imagine what it could do for you in your relationships, in your business, or in any other area of your life? This is so powerful. So if you do one thing, just experiment with this one lesson. And that brings me to lesson number 5, which was incredibly important for me. Having a clear picture of the future. When you meditate and when you enter heart-brain coherence, one of the benefits is that your brain starts receiving clearer signals about where you want to go. Because clarity on your path is really a must, right? It gives you direction before you even fully see or imagine it in your mind. But I noticed that many people struggle with their vision. So you ask questions like, what should I see? Or how do I know if I'm doing my meditations right? And that is why I became a big fan of the My Movie. When you make a mind movie, you place yourself inside the new world you want to see and want to step inside yourself. So you expose your nervous system to a repeated emotional picture of where you are going. And this makes the future feel familiar to your body. And when the future feels familiar, the body starts moving toward it naturally. And Dr. Joe is also a big fan of these kind of mind movies, like in the book Becoming Supernatural, where he talks in detail about the mind movies. And he describes rehearsing the future emotionally and mentally before it happens and exposing the brain and body to repeated images and elevated emotions. So if you want to know more in detail about this mind movie, link is in the description below. But I highly recommend you to dive into the hidden benefits of this mind movie. So then we have lesson number 6. And this maybe sounds a little counterintuitive. But it was something I was doing wrong for many years without even knowing it. I was trying to meditate while my body was still in survival mode. I was stressed. I was rushed. And then I expected my meditation to work while I had a lot of thoughts in my head. And maybe you recognize these thoughts. So if you learn this from the start, you can save yourself a lot of frustration. What I did not know back then is that getting your body out of survival mode is actually very simple. One of the fastest ways is through breathing. Before you even start meditating, you want to signal safety to your nervous system. And a powerful example is box breathing. And this is why that matters so much. You breathe in for 4 seconds, then you hold for 4 seconds, then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold again for 4 seconds. Just a few rounds of this already tells your body that there's no danger and that you can feel safe. This type of breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is the part of your nervous system responsible for rest, healing, and regulation. So when your body is in this state, it becomes much easier to go deeper into your meditation because you are no longer trying to calm a stressed nervous system. You are starting when your body is feeling safe instead of survival. Then we dive into lesson number 7. And this completely changed the way I look at meditation and how I stay consistent with the work. It is called the Super Mario effect. So let me explain what I mean by this. Because a lot of people meditate for a while. They miss a few days, they lose some focus, and then they tell themselves it does not work for them. And that is a moment where people feel like, they have failed. And my perspective on how to do my meditations changed completely after watching this video by Mark Rober. And it's about the Super Mario effect.
Yeah, the Super Mario effect is basically like, no one ever plays Super Mario Brothers or some video game for the first time, falls into a pit, and is just like, oh my gosh, I fell into a pit, I failed, how embarrassing, I never want to play this game again. You're like, no, okay, crap, there's a pit right there. Okay, next time I'm going to come a little bit faster, I'm going to jump a little earlier. You immediately learn from the failure and you're like stoked to try again. And so that's very much my philosophy. If you can gamify your challenges and think of them like a video game, you can learn so much more, you can have more success and have fun while doing it.
So what Mark basically is saying is that you should approach meditating like learning a video game. When you approach meditations like a game, like an experiment, the pressure to be successful or to see instant results disappear. You become curious about the next level instead of judgmental about the last one. And that mindset is what keeps you in the game long enough for real change to happen. Lesson number 8 is about the perfectionism trap. This was almost the one that made me quit meditations, and it was this. I thought I had to do my meditations perfectly right to see results. But every time my inner critic came up, am I doing this right? Do I have to breathe differently? And every time my mind started wandering or my meditation felt messy, I thought I was doing it wrong, and that totally demotivated me. But how do you think your flow is when you have these inner critic questions all the time? Because that perfectionism creates pressure, and pressure puts the thinking mind just more on. And then my nervous system went back into survival mode. And then instead of feeling open and present and in the moment, I was constantly checking if I was doing it right. And that made my meditation feel like a task instead of a place of safety. So then what helped me was letting go of the idea of a perfect meditation. I focused on showing up and allowing whatever happened to me. The moment I dropped perfectionism, meditation became lighter, because perfection is not the goal. Presence in this moment is. So lesson number 9 is a small but powerful hack to stay consistent and to really practice feeling gratitude every single day. Because if you think about it, even when it feels like your world is falling apart, there's always someone who wants to trade their situation with yours without hesitation, right? And therefore, when you listen to the teachings of Dr. Joe, you hear this over and over again. It's so important to feel new feelings and new emotions with their high frequency. If feelings like love and gratitude and peace are so important, then why not train them every single day? This simple practice will help you to feel more elevated emotions fast. And this is why I started using a gratitude journal for about 15 minutes a day. Every single day I write down what I'm thankful for, both the small and the big moments I experience during the day. And through repetition, you train yourself to notice gratitude instead of forgetting about it. And you start appreciating moments that you normally take for granted. And if you do this consistently, even for just 2 weeks, I can almost guarantee you will not want to stop about it. It's a small habit, but it's a real game changer if you want to feel better and get more out of your meditations. Lesson number 10 goes deeper into feeling the emotion of your desire before it even happens. And this was an important lesson for me because I realized something that Dr. Joe talks about often. You never feel lack when you are truly in the feeling state. Because meditations helps to train your mind and body to slow down your brainwaves, to tap into the field and to tune into the right frequency. And this is a process that takes practice. And I see this the same way as learning how to kite surf, because I'm a big fan of kite surfing. But before you control the kite and you control the board and you are able to ride back and forth, you need to practice. You need to put into the hours to get the feeling into your body. So when I started meditating, it was really hard for me to quiet my thoughts. And the more I tried, the more thoughts I seemed to have. I was so used to my old emotions, my old feelings and habits, that it felt really uncomfortable to let them go. The only thing that carried me through that phase was staying in the game and continuing practicing like kite surfing. And something beautiful happens when I did that. Over time, you start to feel different emotions. You slowly become less attached to the old emotions and more drawn into the new ones. And that shift is really powerful. Just like learning a sport, it takes repetition and the willingness to keep on learning. And then we end up with the last lesson, lesson number 11. The first and most important reason I stayed in the game is because I stayed in the content of Dr. Joe. I watched countless of testimonials and I shifted from a feeling of failing to a feeling of experimenting. I allowed myself to mess up my meditations again and again and again, while I still practiced gratitude during my gratitude moments. So you don't have to be too hard for yourself. Simply experience your journey and keep a smile on your face when you are doing it. If you look at the research, you will see that even a 4-day meditation practice without you even realizing it can already have a strong effect on your immune system. And therefore, there is a reason why some of the most successful business people meditate for at least 25 minutes every single day, right? If you ask me, I learned the most from my own mistakes along the way. So if you are curious about what I did wrong during my first 2 years, watch this video here where I talk about my 5 biggest mistakes. And if you want to stay in the content, make sure to subscribe to this channel. You watch this video until the end, so I'm sure you appreciate more content like this. Okay guys, that's it for today. Love you all and see you in the next video.